as a person and her history prior to the cult. But what we know is relatively painfully lacking. Prior to becoming the high priestess of the movement, Credonia was a shopkeeper, banana beer brewer, and a sex worker. She was also very religious and dedicated herself to a group of people that devoted themselves to the Virgin Mary. In 1989, she would claim that she, too, had a vision, that the Virgin Mary in her dreams appeared to her, telling her of her new life mission, that she was destined to seek out a man by the name of Joseph Kibwetere, sorry, I'm going to butcher that last name a lot, and ask him to take her and two of her followers in. That once together, Credonia and Joseph were destined for great things and were chosen to be saved and to try and save as many others as they could. The two others she foresaw in her vision to bring with her were two others she had been palling around with already as part of her religious habits. A man by the name of Dominic Katari Babo and another named Paul Ikazire. Dominic was an excommunicated priest for reasons unknown. We don't know why he was kicked out of the church. But Paul would eventually return back to the church. And when he was interviewed and discussed the early days of the cult as it formed, since he left so early, he said that Credonia often was the one who was truly in charge.
So he left the cult and became...
He went back to the Roman Catholic Church. Again? Yes, correct. He went back to join. Paul wasn't clergy. He just returned back and rejoined the Roman Catholic Church as a member.
I see.
Dominic was only one that was a ranking member in the church. He was excommunicated. We don't have the information as to why.
That's never a good detail.
Yeah.
Unknown, excommunicated for an unknown reason. That's
we
just,
don't have
it takes
answer.
a lot to get kicked out of the Catholic Church, as we know, too. So, you never know.
Yeah, it really does. Usually you just kind of get shifted away to a different town somewhere across the country.
So Joseph, though, he was just a teacher. He wasn't clergy.
This guy has no idea who these people are and he isn't having visions of these people. He's not the Virgin Mary that when he's seeing her isn't telling her about, these people coming. It's just these people.
So Credonia allegedly had a vision before she met him, telling her to seek out a stranger.
Yes, to seek out a stranger she's never heard of by this name.
Okay.
So shortly after her first vision, she would have yet another, but this time in her waking life while she was near her home. See, near Credonia's home was a small cave, and one day while she walked by, she turned to see a figure within the cave. Intrigued, she moved closer. Maybe it was someone who had gotten lost or needed some help. But as Credonia walked closer, she realized it was not one, but two people in this cave. And you may not expect who the second person is.
I don't even know who the first person was. It's Abbott and Costello.
The first person wasn't a person at all, but in fact, an image of a person within the stone itself. And we're not talking a drawing. We're not talking an etching or a carving, like an actual, real to life person, but within the stone.
Like those, those things that it's like you try and relax and you put it on your face and you can what?
No,
what?
It was 2D.
What?
It was a 2D. He's thinking of the pin toy.
The pin toy where you put your hand through.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. Yeah,
I
not
that.
Figure out what you were talking about. Like a rock
like
hologram.
A rock with a TV. Like a rock, but it's a TV. You could see that kind of person.
So the rock was transparent?
Yeah, kind of.
Like Zack Snyder's Justice League when he's talking to Desaad.
But there was a second person who wasn't part of the rock as well, but we'll get to that in a second. So she moved closer. And the first person, it wasn't at all, but it was none other. The image in the stone was none other than the Virgin Mary herself. Her back was actually turned, so she couldn't see her face. And representing her turn, she turned her back on the world's sinful state, according to Credonia. That the Virgin Mary she saw was turned, representing that Mary herself had turned her back on her world.
The back of Mary?
Yes, the back of Mary.
Question. How did she know it was Mary by only seeing the back of her?
Because of the second person who was in this cave. None other than Jesus himself.
So Jesus was
there.
President.
Jesus, the real dude, was there.
The real Jesus was there.
But we got CG rock imagery of the back of the Virgin Mary.
Right. That's not what I would have expected at all. I would have thought clearly the reverse, but this checks out.
Jesus was out in the cave. He was in the cave and he had a message, of course, and Mary had a message as well.
He said, it's dangerous to go alone. Take this.
But we'll get to that message in a minute, because shortly after that, Credonia set out to find Joseph Kibweter. At this point, some of you might be thinking to yourself, well, that's fucking incredible. She had a supposed vision of or dream and was told to find a specific person who she eventually did. If otherwise we wouldn't have the story. That's crazy. And you're right, it would be. But there's one last thing that we actually do know about Joseph that would unravel the entire supernatural direction that Credonia received. You see, Joseph, back in 1960, got married. And through some digging, it was discovered that Credonia knew of and maybe actually knew the wife's sister, as she and another traveled through Uganda spreading the word of the Virgin Mary. And if Joseph, and this next part is all conjecture on my end, and if Joseph truly believed he was having visions, which I believe is the case, I think he thought, or at least lied to himself and like